My name is Heidi Landis, and I am a licensed creative arts therapist, a registered drama therapist, and also a trainer, educator, and practitioner of psychodrama. So I do both drama therapy and psychodrama. And I am currently in a full-time private practice and consulting. So I see individuals, I run groups, and I've also been working with a number of different kinds of organizations, but lately a bunch of arts organizations on helping their teaching artists and artists learn what it's like to recognize trauma in the classroom, not to turn them into therapists, but to help them understand what's happening. Everybody is really struggling in the classroom right now in different ways, teachers, artists. So helping them really understand what they're seeing and helping them look at the things that they're doing through a trauma-informed lens. So obviously it's different from person to person, or if it's an individual or a group, but when and if it's drama therapy or psychodrama, but sort of putting those things together, whether it's an individual or a group, there's always a warm-up piece of the session, and then a moving into action, and then a sharing or a processing. When I'm working with individuals as a creative arts therapist, there's probably a lot more going back and forth between what might look like a typical talk therapy session and then moving into action, and sort of using what the client needs in those moments to move into action. And when I say action, for a drama therapist, that can mean many different things. That can mean getting up and literally moving. It can be embodying a role that you feel stuck in, or embodying a future role that you would like to play. In a psychodrama session, we are literally creating an entire narrative based on that person's stories. And when it's a group, we are all playing different parts in those stories. And so there's a way that we want to make sure that we're warming up to moving into action. So connecting our mind and body, being in a place where we start to allow the things to organically bubble up. And then from the themes that are emerging, we will use those to create some sort of, again, putting something in action could look in so many different ways. Then finding ways to process that. Not all drama, there's many different forms of drama therapy, and not all drama therapy models have a processing aspect, but most do. And I certainly do in my practice. I feel it's really important. Oftentimes people get referred to me, or they, they're like, oh, I don't really know, is drama therapy only for actors, or is it only for, and so really talking and helping them figure out what the philosophy is behind it, I think is really important. And for me, one of those ideas is that creativity and anxiety are in direct correlation with each other. And as our anxiety begins to go up, our creativity goes down. And I like to explain to people that creativity can mean a million different things. It's not just being a professional artist or an actor, it's how we look at the world. And so to have the opportunity to explore different ways of engaging in the world is really what we're doing in a drama therapy session. And in addition to that, I think it's important to talk about roles. So we all play many, many different roles in our lives. And this is one of the main kind of premises around drama therapy, this idea that we all play many different roles, but that we have the power in our lives to be able to bring new roles into our lives, or to retire roles that no longer serve us. And oftentimes, I think when people come into my office, although they might not put it in this way, I would say they might be stuck in a role. Right? They're always the bad kid or the victim or whatever it might be, and that then we can play with that. We can look at how that role has served us. We can try on new roles without any consequences, by trying on roles that we haven't played before in a drama therapy session. We can work with getting rid of roles that we don't want to, or thanking roles or putting them aside. So oftentimes when I talk to people around the philosophy and the theory, they're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Understanding that it's not about product, it's about the process. Which I know is a theme through all of the different creative arts therapies, right? It's not about creating a show, it's about what's the process of engaging in a creative act. Drama therapy is pretty embodied, right? And so I think part of that science is that we know that trauma lives in the body. We know that our stories live in the body. Oftentimes, we spend a lot of our lives being cut off from our bodies. It's safer. We don't have to feel, we don't have to think, right? Or we don't want to consciously or unconsciously. And so a big piece of drama therapy is this idea that we are going to connect mind and body, and that we know that our stories live in our body. And when we can get access to that, we can begin to work through it in a more holistic way. And we can begin to put things where they need to go. There's a lot of research these days about how embodied practices and the creative arts in general help us to rebuild our neural pathways. In fact, a lot of research is showing that the fastest way to do that is through the creative arts. And that's because it's not only connecting both sides of the brains, but it's connecting our bodies and our minds. And so when we move, we are more able to, we are more able to connect with that creative part of ourselves. And again, broadening the definition of creativity to like just being able to respond in new ways. We're focusing on role. I think that we're focusing on embodiment. Drama therapy is different, probably the closest to dance movement therapy, I suppose, because we are moving, we are up, we are embodied. And yet I think we're also connected to all of the other, you're asking me how we're different, but I want to talk about how we're connected for some reason, because I think we need each other. Being able to use metaphor, being able to use words, being able to use movement is all part of the practice of a drama therapist. And we are different because we pull out the drama, we pull out the idea around roles, we use improvisation, we use projective techniques, but we're all so connected. So there's differences and there's connections. And I think this is a hard question for me because I want all of us to be more connected. I think we need each other. And I like to refer my clients to art therapists, or when I feel like they need it, when I feel like they can be served better in that way, or dance movement therapists or music therapists. I truly believe that we have different ways in to being able to work with people. Therapy is amazing in general, but talk therapy isn't for everybody. Or we find ourselves, we get stuck in talk therapy. The opportunity to just add new ways in is really important. A lot of my work is about working with traumatized populations or working with organizations who want to learn how to be trauma informed. And there's just so much research being done, and also just knowledge around the fact that we need to find new ways in, that talk therapy doesn't necessarily reach us when we have experiences that are hard to express. And so finding ways to move our body, finding different ways to express ourselves is so important. And I think the world is beginning to see that too. And so I am excited to celebrate that. I think that more and more, particularly after what the world has been through in the last number of years, people also recognize the value of the arts. People recognize that we need that for healing.